Why are you so mad? With all your money and all your stuff, seems to me you still don't have enough. Fred, oh Fred, me no Fred.
Before we get started with the next episode of our story, we'd like to thank all of you for your likes, comments, and support. Your comments during this last series have been very heartfelt and touching, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
So in our last video, we launched our boat, and being very busy that day, moving the boat, so we were very tired. So we went to bed early in the evening, and we learned very soon why they call rock and roll the anchorage where we anchored. We woke up around midnight. Boat was rocking very much, and naturally we jumped out of the bed. And,
we almost got thrown out of our bunk, actually.
We went out, looked out the hatch, and we see maybe 8 or 9 big fishing boats heading towards the Point Loma out into the ocean. Later on we learned that that's what happened every Friday and Saturday at midnight. They all leave the moorings and heading towards fishing grounds, try to be the first out there. So next day we had a lot on our mind. We knew there is a lot of things to be done on the boat, but we have to really choose the priority. And one of the priority would be to get a mast installed so it stop us from rolling so badly, and also have our engine running, so in a case we dragged or whatever might happen, we can move around. So we went and priced the rig for our boat. Original design was for a Marconi rig, but when we found out the price for the mast, boom, and all the rigging, we knew that will not be very easy accomplished. So we looked into a gaff rig, which is a traditional design, more in a line of the spray. Mast being a pole mast, we knew we can make it a mast ourselves, and also the boom, and also the rigging by purchase rigging, not in the marine store. We could save a lot of money on it. We found a place where they were treating poles for a gas electric company, 45-foot stick for $175 just before they treat it. So for another $100 they would move the pole anywhere within 25 miles from the yard. Now the problem was we had no place to really work on the mast, but like always in the past, again we were lucky. Our old customer Jim, who was the neighbor over the Fred,
the guy that we built the garage and the office for,
he gave us a call, and he told me he would like to have his service box upgrade from 100 ampere to 200 amperes, and he would ask if I would be interested to help him with that. And naturally I told him yes, I would be very much interested. So we went out over to his house, and
we were already friends. We had developed a pretty close friendship with him and Mary.
Yes, he didn't know nothing about what happened between us and Fred. I told him what happened. He was kind of smiling, laughing at it. He said, yeah, Fred can be kind of grouchy. And then he told me, then how you guys work on the boat? I said, everything goes good, but you know, right now we want to build a mast, and we
dinghy. We want to build our dinghy.
We don't really have any place to go to do it. And Jim says, why don't you just do it right here? You can put your pole.
My front yard.
You can put a pole right next to my driveway, and you can be working out there without going to be nobody's way.
It was a beautiful place too.
Only the problem was that his driver was running parallel to Fred's driveway, about 50 feet away, divided by the grass.
Right, all open pretty much.
So we ordered a pole and had it delivered there one day. Came about 11 o'clock, dropped it down.
We were all happy. We have a nice place to work.
He left, and we started working on the mast about 4:30 that afternoon. In the corner of my eye, I noticed Fred was coming home. He stopped at the beginning of his driveway.
Oh,
he was staring at us, staring at
Staring.
us. And I kind of lift my head up, and I look at him, smile and wave. He turned his head away quickly
Oh, man.
and drove away to
The
his house.
ultimate karma, guys. That was it.
Now Fred had to be looking at us for about a month, almost every
A little
day,
more than a month, actually.
because we were building our mast and also we were building our dinghy there.
Yeah.
So Fred didn't say nothing. He was trying to always look away as much as he could, but
he couldn't miss us. He had to drive right by us every day.
so then one day a friend of ours from a boatyard stopped by. He told us, Fred was offering $100 to anyone who would want to come and take a chainsaw and cut our mast in half, but he didn't find no takers. So anyway, we finished our mast and our dinghy, and Jim had a friend who was in the backhoe business, so he asked him if he could help us bring the mast to the yard,
Cattenberg Marine. Yeah.
to deliver into the yard. So his friend came with a dump truck and a trailer, unloaded a backhoe. With that backhoe, he lifted the mast up and put on his trailer, and we took it to Cattenberg Marina to be put up on our boat.
That was a big day.
Because we were able to install our mast. So now about the rigging, I found out that there was a place called Pacific Rigging, which work with mainly commercial fishing boats and so forth. And I found out that they sell the same stainless steel wire as a marine store for 3 times less. So the cost was incredible different for the price of the 1x19 wire and also for the sledging. So after installing the mast with all the fittings and everything, it worked out to be about $3,500.
And we liked the gaff rig. We read a lot about it, and we just decided that's what we wanted to do.
We liked the appearance of it. So.
And we had some good friends that had a gaff rigger, and they took us out sailing and taught us.
So once we came back to the anchorage, it was very, very noticeable, the movement of the boat. Now when the Friday and Saturday midnight came, it was much more tolerable because the boat was reacting totally different than...
One way was a violent, really jerky motion, the other way was kind of just slow and rolling. Actually, a friend of ours said that we might now not cut our arm off with our saw because the boat had a little bit nicer motion. It's a good thing.
So, with the installation of our mast, we also made our engine running. There is not much really to say about making engine running. We made cooling water around from a strainer to the engine and then installed the exhaust. So the only part I would like to mention about that process is when it comes down to mixing elbow. Now, mixing elbow in the engine is the part which is installed right at your engine where your exhaust gases come out, and your cooling water is mixing with the exhaust gases. Now, the reason I want to mention that part, because number one, it costs over $300, but even if the money is not the object, the problem is that it's not very easy to get, because usually it comes from a manufacturer of your engine who does the conversion for you. So not too many people carry it. And it happened at 3 or 4 different occasions where cruisers end up with a problem with the mixing elbow due to the fact that it was plugged up or cracked and the engine was overheating. So the problem became then to order a new one would take a long time to get it, especially if you're in remote places. That would be very awkward, not be able to go away due to not having engine running. So naturally I've done it my own, try to save some bucks, but also not to have to depend on nobody else. And as I show you in a little clip, I've done it by purchasing from a local hardware store, I think about 4 or 5 parts, which price was about $25. So if you compare $25 to $300 plus I was able to fix it right there on the spot, not have to wait for any kind of special delivery. Here is my mixing elbow, which consists of an 1.5 inch nipple, 1.5 inch T, reducers on the one side where cooling water comes, and on the bottom it's an 1.5 inch exhaust where the your cooling water and exhaust gas is mixed. The way I went about it, that mixing elbow, which I designed, lasted for 14 years. So in the last 30 years, I had to replace it twice, which took about no more than a half an hour to do the job. Now, some people might argue that's not a good way, not the right way, but I'd like to remind you that our engine's got over 6,000 hours on it, 30 years old, and it worked perfectly good without any problem whatsoever.
And Jules makes it sound kind of like everything was very simple to get the engine running, but neither one of us knew anything about engines. We read a lot, and we had our Peugeot manual, and we were both kind of surprised when it actually started up the first time. It was pretty exciting.
Yes, and about the steering, after the prices of different steering systems, and also location, how to run the system to it, we decided to go on a hydraulic.
Right.
With a hydraulic system, we bought a Hydraulic, which came to be half a price of the Edison cable steering.
Right.
And there was no problem running flexible copper hoses to different accessories.
Right.
So we also had installed a hydraulic autopilot.
Yeah.
We had it there for 30 years now. We are very happy with that.
We rebuilt it once with seals.
Served it very well. So since we launched the boat, already went several months by, we were building interior, and everything was going quite well. It was not easy, but it was possible to do. I use my new dinghy, which we built up at the Jim's place. I use for delivering small lumbers, anything larger. We went to a dock to pick her up.
And it was very humorous watching Jules or me navigate through the anchorage with big long boards balanced on the dinghy going to the anchorage, but that's what we did.
So anyway, one day a friend of ours from boatyard stopped by. The one who was telling me that I was not too smart leaving the yard not to kiss Fred's ass, because now how I end up. He came by and told me, "Jules, I'm jealous on you. I think you're very, very lucky." And I said, why are you saying we're so lucky suddenly? He said, "Fred died, and we just received a notice that we had 90 days to move out. The place will be transferring the ownership, and we all have to find a place to finish our boat. And we've been out already in the water, so we can actually thank Fred for two things. One, then he made us speed up the work, and the second, then we get the ladder at the boatyard."
And also we got some jobs through old Fred, met some really nice people, and actually our first being able to start building our boat there was really kind of a big thing, because there was not that many boatyards in San Diego at the time. I think there was 2, and his was one of them.
So actually, now when we're thinking back, we are not mad at Fred.
And that may have been why he was so cranky too.
He done actually a lot of good things for us throughout the time we've been there in the yard, year and a half. And also we found out he died of cancer, so maybe that was another part of his being so unhappy and so angry.
Right.
So now when we look back, things were not really that bad. But at the time, that was not easy.
Right. Yeah.
Now I tell you a Chinese story. The old Chinese man had a son, and his son went out and caught a wild horse. And when he brought the horse back home, everybody in the village says, "What a lucky man." And the old man says, "Maybe." Anyway, a couple of days later, a young man jumped on the horse to try to break him in, and the horse drove him off, and he broke his leg. And everybody in the village says, "What an unlucky man." And the old man just said, "Maybe." A couple of weeks later, Imperial Army came to the village and picked up all the young men for the army. But they left the young man who had a broken leg, and everybody in the village says, "What a lucky man." And the old man says, "Maybe." So that's how it goes in life. One day you think you're unlucky, and next day you think you are lucky. You really have to wait some time before you can assess it, if it's really lucky or unlucky.
And a lot of you have asked why Jules never smiles, and so I think right now, by what I'm going to say, it might either make him smile or make him cry. But I'd like to wish him a happy 34th anniversary. It's been 34 years, and he forgot again, probably.
No, I didn't forget.
He's got something big planned, I guess. But if he doesn't remember, if he did remember, it doesn't matter. I'd like to say that I would do it all over again. We've been through a lot of hard times and a lot of good times, but in the end, it was all worth it, and I would marry him again. Happy anniversary!
Nice. Thank you. Throughout the years, there were a lot of good, but also hard times. When we decided to change our lifestyle and get into a boating life, we didn't quite realize to what extent our lives will change. But to give you some example, as we didn't have any running water on the boat, no tanks, we purchased 4 5-gallon jugs, which every 2 days we had to row to the beach. And next to the beach was a boat ramp where they had a faucet where people was washing their boats. So we was able to refill our water jugs, take them to the boat, and that was our water supply. Now, simple things like washing our face required 2 of us, because I would be pouring water for Susan.
That's before we had our sink and faucets and whatnot. And from the very moment that we started carrying all of our fresh water to the boat, we both learned how much water we had been wasting while living on land, and how little you can actually get by with and be satisfied.
On several occasions, Susan says, I wonder what my friends would say if they saw me how I lived. And naturally I said the same thing, then people in the old country would be wondered, and that is the reason you escaped. Those things which looked like a hardship actually made our relation stronger. Many of our friends who in the beginning were saying that I was not very smart in what we're doing, by now already got divorced. And one of the major reasons why they got divorced was the money problem. I guess we didn't have any problem because we didn't have any money.
That's possible.
So anyway, that was one thing which was very much a hardship. Now, another thing is, those days there were not the cell phones, so only phone exist was a telephone line. Naturally, being on the boat on the anchor, we didn't have the telephone, so I had to find a way for customers to be able to get hold of me. So what I did, we purchased an answering machine and had it put in a friend's place where I had my telephone line installed. So if anybody wanted to get hold of me, they would have to call my answering machine, and I would get the messages, any phone booth outside. I have a special beeper. When I beep into a phone, I would get my messages. So I made sure let everybody knows that the only way to get hold of me is by leaving a message, which worked out pretty good because only jobs we took was from a recommendation, and we did not advertise. So, and when we went to work, Susan was very much a big help to me. When we had electrical work and had to be work up on the attic, Susan would crawl up on the attic to pull the Romex, and if he had to work underneath the house, Susan again would go underneath the house and pull the wires and so forth.
I got the fun part.
One occasion I remember very well when we did electrical wiring on the room addition, and the customer had some plumbing difficulties, and he called a plumber, and the plumber came at 200 pounds plus, and naturally he couldn't fit into the house, so he was telling the guy that he's going to have to tear up part of his patio to be able to get to the plumbing lines to a sewer. And after he left, I told the guy that for half price we can fix the plumbing and he doesn't have to tear up anything. And Susan again volunteered to go into the house with a sawzall and carbide blade, cut pipes, and we were able to repair without much damage. So Susan came very handy for much more than just building a boat. She was a big help to me on the construction too. We did a lot of work on the boat, so that you don't think that we only worked and never played. For our entertainment, we went and bought ourselves a television. Now in today's age of big screens, try to imagine we bought a black and white TV, 5-incher.
We really splurged.
So when we In the evening we lay down, we put the television on our stomach because it was too small to put it far away from us, and we'd be watching PBS shows like a mystery or news
or nature
or something interesting like that. There were a reason why we bought a really small television, and the reason was mainly that we only had one battery for starting our engine, so we had a very little electric available. So that little black and white television used the least amount of energy. But again, having small television like that put us closer together instead of farther apart.
About the electric, it was kind of funny. Jules and I were used to going to customers' jobs and installing big service boxes, and we were living on our boat off of a little small 12-volt battery at the time. So just goes to show you how little you can actually get by on.
We didn't have a lot of stuff, but we were very satisfied and happy due to the fact that we were free. We had no bills, no rent, no mortgage. So life was very simple. In the morning when we got up, we could have a cup of coffee, we could have a breakfast, and leisurely went about our work without hassling around and worry what the stock market does, or if a property is up or property down, and so on. Now, about a lot of stuff, let me tell you a little story. There was a salesman who came to a new city, and it was getting late in the day. He was looking for a place to stay. So he talked to a man and says, "Hey, do you know any place I can rent it for a night?" And the man told him, "Well, why don't you stay in my place? It's okay." So he followed him to his place, and when he went in, he noticed that in the room there was nothing, just a bed and a chair. So he looked at the man and he said, "How come you have so few things?" And the man looked at him and said, "All you have is a little suitcase." But the salesman said, "Yeah, but I'm only passing through." And the man looked at him and says, "Me too." So you see, all of us struggling so hard to get things, and then when the time comes to depart, we all leave it behind. Now we still have to get some electronics and the sails. Actually, sails was a big part because of a brand new set of sails for our boat. We priced it was around $6,000, so it was actually one of the most expensive part after the engine. One day a guy named Bob L. stopped by in a big inflatable dinghy, a big engine. He introduced himself and he says, "You know guys, I'm a pilot, and every time I stop in San Diego, have a layover for a couple of days, I come here in the harbor and I see you guys building your boat, so I'm kind of paying close attention."
He had a similar boat to ours. Huh?
Yeah, he had a very similar type of boat designed by Hana, a gaff rig boat. So he asked us when we going to take her for sail, and naturally we told him that, we don't have the sails, so who knows how long it's going to take it before we get the sails.
We're working on it still.
We're working on it. Anyway, so, okay, he left, and one day we went to work, and we got back. I look at it on the top of our deck, I see 3 bags of sails. With a note from Bob says, "Here is my used sails, I just got new ones. So I decided to see if they can work for you. I will be in San Diego Saturday, so
hopefully we can go sailing together."
How about if I stop by, help you bend the sails on, and see how she's going to go sail? So we were excited beyond belief. Saturday he came, he helped me put the sails up, and we went for sail.
They didn't exactly fit just right.
They were not, he had a catch, we have a cutter, so his mainsail actually was like our mainsail with a one reef in. But for us it was like a brand new sail.
We were thrilled.
We were so excited. We went for sail. He was pretty impressed with it, how she sailed.
He was more excited than we were, I think, to see our boat sailing.
Yeah. So anyway, we were very excited. And now all those naysayers who on the very beginning told us that you want to build a boat that will never happen. Then later on they said that, oh, if you start building, you're never going to finish, like most people never finished. And now when we already had a boat in the water and we actually start sailing, they were saying we will never go cruise because that's not so easy to just leave everything and go. So our next thing was to go cruising. to take her on a long voyage. We still needed some electronics, so we decided we would like to have the minimum, which would be a VHF radio, a depth sounder, and naturally we needed a sextant to be able to find our way around. So when we bought a depth sounder, the whole out of the boat to install depth sounder was almost as expensive as buying a depth sounder. So I decided to go a different way about it. When we were anchoring, they had a city ordinance that you cannot put your boat on a beach to work on it. So anyway, we decided that we don't really want to paint a boat or anything to make any kind of mess. So we decided to do that.
All we wanted to do was drill a hole in the boat, basically.
So we put the boat on the beach, waited for a tide comes out, and a couple other boats was anchored down there. The people was very amazed when they saw when the tide went out. We were laying on the side, and they saw me grabbing a big drill and drilling a hole into our boat to install the depth sounder. The job was pretty much already over when Susan told me, Jules, the harbor patrol is coming from behind the corner.
You're in trouble now.
Now I know I'm going to be in the trouble, so I got on the VHF radio and I called them and I said, Harbor Patrol, this is Emerald Steel. I accidentally ran on the ground, can you please come and tow me out? Naturally they responded they can't do that.
Have to wait for the tide to come
You have to wait for the tide to come up or call a towboat to pull you off. And I say, thank you very much. I look at them, they turn around and went 180 degrees way back where I came from. They didn't want to have no part of me. So anyway, I'm pretty sure they had their thoughts and I had mine. I just smiled and that was it. Tide came up and we relaunched the boat and we had our depth sounder installed. Then many people ask us if we won a lottery or we inherit money or whatever way we got rich to be able to live a lifestyle like we do. But the truth is that with very little money, hard work, and a little luck, we was able to accomplish all those things which other people think it takes a lot of money.
And I can say that we had a lot of help from a lot of different people that were sailors, wannabe sailors, landsmen, everyone that we met practically that was interested in our project. They couldn't wait to see us actually accomplish our dreams. So we did receive a lot of help from many different people.
Yes.
And that's what actually made us be successful.
And decision was made to sail for Hawaii. And the interesting thing was then a couple of those harbor patrols actually became such a friends with ours. Then some of them asked us to send them postcards from wherever we go to or wherever we get in. And one even offered to give me a $20 bill so I can buy the postcards, which I did accept it. But anyway, we had a lot of good, fun memories from building our boat.
Okay guys, so I guess that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed the video and got something out of it. And don't forget to leave a comment and a thumb up if you liked the video. And we'd also like to thank all of you that support our channel through Patreon and PayPal. We really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. And we will see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.